The Raptors always seemed to get what they wanted, whether it was legit superstars like Tracy McGrady or Vince Carter, or the right coach like Nick Nurse or Dwayne Casey, but for whatever reason, they would always come up short and golden opportunities always seemed to slip through their hands. Granted, they did have to see LeBron through some of those years. As 2010 ushered in, the Raps rolled the dice once again in the hopes of finding the next franchise star in the lottery, and lo and behold, they were able to find a diamond in the rough in the 2009 draft, the 9th overall pick, DeMar DeRozan. The Raptors then began to put the right complementary pieces around the maestro of mid-range, and in return, the Raptors enjoyed several winning seasons, including some deep playoff runs. But if you're familiar with those, then you definitely know where this is heading. Just like Carter and Bosh, the same story goes for DeRozan, another superstar who's unable to bring the Raptors over the hump. With their inability to win a championship, they traded DeRozan to the San Antonio Spurs, acquiring the nonchalant superstar Kawhi Leonard in the process. Now, Kawhi at the time was very vocal about his dissatisfaction with the Spurs camp, and the Raptors were looking to move past the DeRozan era, so the trade made perfect sense back then. Kawhi got what he wanted, which was to be traded, but I'm assuming he wanted a city a little bit warmer than Toronto, possibly LA. Knowing that Kawhi is going to be in Toronto for a short time, the franchise had to do everything they could to maximize their chance of winning it all. One of the major changes that was made was replacing Dwayne Casey with the longtime Raptors assistant coach Nick Nurse, who since then has proved to be a phenomenal coach. Along with some key adjustments, especially on the defensive end of the floor, the unique partnership of Kawhi and Nurse was able to steer the Raptors into the right direction as they finished the regular season with the second best record in the East at 58-24 and coming on top of the Eastern Conference, outlasting formidable adversaries like the 76ers, Celtics, and the Bucks. With the injuries piling up on the side of the unfortunate Warriors, the Raptors didn't hesitate to seize the opportunity, and in an unthinkable fashion, Kawhi and the Raptors beat the Golden State Warriors to grab their first ever NBA championship. Just 1 year removed from their Cinderella run, Kawhi left the North and teamed up with Paul George and the Clippers. So, all is done for the Raptors, right? Well, quite the contrary, actually. The Raptors are exceeding everyone's expectations and performing superbly as they're poised to defend their crown inside the bubble without their former Finals MVP. So the question is, are the Raptors better than they were last year? The addition of Kawhi definitely gave the Raptors a huge lift on both ends of the court last season, but can we say that the Raptors are performing better without Kawhi? Well, one way to answer this speculation is by crunching down the numbers. Looking at the bigger picture, the Raptors did actually perform better in terms of eclipsing their last year's winning percentage with Kawhi on the team. The Raptors were surging around mid-January as they won 24 out of 28 games around this time and eventually finished strong in the bubble with a 53-19 win-loss record. Though that may be the case, the absence of Kawhi slightly affected their offensive rating as it went down a bit from 112.6 last year to 111.1 this season. Now, obviously, you can credit the offensive dip to Kawhi's 26.6 per game, as well as Danny Green's 10.3 and Jonas Valanciunas' 12.8. Regardless, the Raptors were able to spread the offensive responsibility and fill the scoring void evenly, with players like Norman Powell stepping up big time from his scoring production of 8.6 last season to 16 points this year. Fred VanVleet also made some significant improvements in his offensive game this year with 17.6 compared to last year's 10.6. Last year's most improved player, Pascal Siakam, also amped up his offensive production from 16.9 to almost 23 a game, and this scoring increase allowed him to get his first All-Star nod this year. The pass-first Kyle Lowry also did his share on the scoring side by adding 5.2 points from his last year's output. Aside from the main guys, the backups like OG Anunoby, Terrence Davis, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson and Chris Boucher also chipped in to fill the big scoring gap that Kawhi left upon his departure. On the defensive end, the Raptors are now ranked second in defensive field goal percentage compared to last year when they ranked 5th, and they made major strides in the steals and forcing turnovers from 9th and 10th place last season to 2nd this time round. Nick Nurse is a superb coach that focuses more on defense, and he was still able to impose a championship-level type of defensive mentality despite not having one of the best defenders in the league like Kawhi. When you look at some of their games, You can see it's been a collaborative effort on the defensive end for the Raptors. Without an elite defender like Kawhi on their lineup, the Raptors know they have to communicate well on the defensive end, especially on helping out or in switching off pick and rolls. Another good thing about this version of the Raptors is their flexibility and versatility on both ends of the floor. Players like Siakam, Anunoby and Boucher are long and agile big men that play interchangeable positions, so that the small backcourt combo of Lowry and Van Fleet can be lethal in the crucial juncture of the game. After we analysed that the Raptors were able to cover Kawhi's absence in terms of both defense and offense, the next question is, can they really defend their championship without him? While we can say that Lowry and Siakam are the Raptors' main stars, it's still different going deep into the playoffs without an elite-level superstar at your disposal. Siakam just recently became an all-star this year, but his overall skill set, especially on the offensive end, has yet to be developed even further. Compared to Kawhi, who has amazing footwork and solid mid-range game, Siakam tends to lose control when driving inside the lane, and his pull-up game isn't yet as polished as Kawhi's. I know that the Raptors are more focused on passing around the leather and moving as a cohesive unit rather than just relying on one guy, but we've seen that come playoff time, you've got to have a true superstar like Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum or Luka in your squad to carry you through tough scoring droughts or during late games. Now my question for you is this: with 5 seconds left on the clock, who would you give the ball for the winning basket? Is it going to be Lowry, Siakam or Van Fleet? I want to know who's the most clutch Raptor for you during winning time by dropping your comments below. Kyle Lowry, on the other hand, is the heart and soul of the team. His leadership and defensive toughness are second to none, but are they enough to help the Raptors win back-to-back titles? Without Kawhi, Lowry has to focus not only on facilitating the team and being a sole playmaker. Just like the Claw, he has to show up on both ends of the floor and be aggressive, particularly on the offensive side, in order for them to consistently win in the playoffs. So, are the Raptors better off without Kawhi? Well, it's a yes and a no. As a collective unit, the Raptors know how to win without an elite superstar riding on their backs. Under the tutelage of Nick Nurse, the Raptors respond well to pressure and have learned to trust one another on both ends of the court. They were also able to do the necessary adjustments around the pieces that they have right now, and with their championship experience they gained last year, I believe they can go toe-to-toe with the best teams in the league and continue their back-to-back reign as NBA champs. However, as I mentioned before, you need to have top caliber elite players to take over the game in case your team ball philosophy goes awry. The level of competition in the league just keeps on increasing over the years, and it's not that bad to have one or two superstars on your team that can create their own shots. The Celtics have Tatum, the 76ers have Embiid, and the Bucks have Giannis. These are just some of the teams that the Raptors might face in the East, and without Kawhi on their side, they have to go through these quality teams led by young superstars. Do you think that the Raptors have the chance to win the championship without Kawhi? Let us know your thoughts on this topic through the comments below.